Dragon Age the Veilguard was a complete and utter failure for EA and Bioware. It underperformed their expectations and only engaged around 1.5 million players. And just a few weeks ago, they randomly dropped a DLC that they had not talked about at all. They didn't do any marketing material for. And now apparently they're ripping away the option from people to get it because the DLC expires tomorrow. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, I don't think they ever had a real plan for Dragon Age of Veilguard, because you would think if they never planned to do any major rounds of DLC that they would have put all of the content that they created into the base game. And then they just decided one day a couple of weeks ago to drop DLC. It was just a couple of cosmetic items, but they did no marketing for it. They didn't talk about it at all, and it seemed to coincide with the release on PlayStation Plus, though it wasn't available to PlayStation Plus users because it's only available on PC, and now apparently they're ripping it away from people. So it says you have one more day to get the Dragon Age the Veilguard DLC that dropped without an announcement. I don't think that they ever had any clear or cohesive plans, or maybe their plans were so long term that they thought that they were going to be able to do DLC, and they thought that they had some cosmetics for small drops, but don't you think that they also would release those other small drops? Makes no sense. It says before Dragon Age the Veilguard launched, we were warned that there wouldn't be much post-launch support. This was reaffirmed after launch, with Bioware making it clear there would be no DLC, and it's clear that there would be no DLC because the game didn't do what they expected it to. I've talked about this quite a few times on the channel, but according to reports, Veilguard failed to meet EA's sales expectations by almost 50%, selling only around 1.5 million units. But the way that this is even worded in this article is suspicious, because they basically said they had 1.5 million players, and they turned that into units. Now, whether or not it's hit 2 or 2.5 million, we don't really know because they haven't given us any updates, but regardless, it underperformed their expectations. It did not do what they initially expected. And while I'm sure that is sad for a couple of people, it really isn't all that shocking. We could tell leading up to launch with the teasers and trailers and the fan reception that it wasn't going to be a smashing success. And this is just what happens when you have a legendary studio completely turned around inside of their ranks and the way that they do development and the product that they actually want to create, their vision, and then they come out with it. You know, if they hadn't gone in the direction of a young adult or modern audience Dragon Age, perhaps this could have turned out really well for them, because people had been itching for a new Dragon Age game. I mean, this was in development for a decade, but then it came out and it just completely flopped because it wasn't in line with the other games in the series. It says, though, that recent reports had indicated that Veilguard reached around 1.5 million players. See, they worded it differently at the beginning of the article, and then once you actually start getting into it, they specify that it is 1.5 million players. We do not know how they engaged those 1.5 million players, if they came from, other like subscription services like EA's, but regardless, it wasn't 1.5 million units sold. The game had received mostly positive reviews from critics, but had a divisive reception amongst fans. Yeah, just proving that there is a massive divide between audiences, the people who are actually swiping their credit cards, and critics. But heading back to the newer article, it talks about how still some held out hope for DLC, but any chance of it was then quashed by the news of the restructuring at Bioware, seeing many devs get moved to other EA studios and others lose their jobs altogether. I do not revel in the fact that people are losing their jobs, but when you are so bad at your job that you are creating a product that absolutely nobody wants to play, you can't expect to hold on to that job. So it came as a great surprise when Veilguard did get a DLC all of a sudden, even if it was only small. Rook's Weapons appearance offer appeared on the PC last month with no announcement save a post on Steam. I think that they were hoping that it was going to draw more people into the Steam version, because there was also a big sale going on at the time, but it was always bizarre that they didn't release it on the other platforms that the game launched on. They only released it on Steam and they made absolutely no announcements about it. But now, apparently, if you, I guess, are a Dragon Age the Veilguard player, you better get your hands on this now because it's just going to disappear. It says you can see the weapons above. Needless to say, they will not be to everyone's tastes. In fact, many players have found them quite off-putting, but hey, they're free for anyone playing on PC, so you might as well pick them up if you already have the game. But now we're finding out that yes, apparently it's only going to be available for one more day. So they're treating it almost like a Twitch drop where you have a certain amount of time to watch streams and get the keys or get the view time so that in the Twitch inventory you can actually get the code for your version of the game, but it's not connected to any sort of viewership milestones. It's literally just having the game on PC. I don't know why they decided to do this in the first place, and it's such a slap in the face to other people that bought the game. Imagine buying this on PlayStation and not being able to actually get these items. Like, that is so terrible, at least in my opinion. If you're going to give something, at least give it to everybody who owns a copy of the game. Basically shows that they just do not care about a whole subsection of their audience, but it doesn't look like many people are playing this on Steam anyway. As of right now, there are 1,573 people in game, which with story games, people come, people go. They play through the full storyline and then they come back when there's a DLC update or there's new content. But we're not getting any of that for Dragon Age of Veilguard. Luckily, this was a really bad experience, and I just don't think they're ever going to see the launch numbers, which also were not good. We're talking about the legendary Bioware and EA here, Dragon Age. People have been waiting a decade for this game, and the best they could muster was 89,418 people. That's not very good, especially when there are plenty of other games over the past year that have launched that have had millions and millions of players in game. I mean, look at something like Monster Hunter Wilds. And Monster Hunter has always done traditionally better on console, and that hit millions of players. Black Myth Wukong, 2.4 million players. Hogwarts Legacy, 900,000 players. It's just pathetic that this is the best that they could muster. And then they tried to initially say it was a success, and then we found out very quickly after that that, oh, this was not what they wanted us to believe because it did end up underperforming. And I just can't say I'm particularly shocked given the awful contents of this game, all of the modern day terminology like transgender, non binary, top surgery, scar toggles. You had characters like Tosh who aren't really supposed to be living people. They're just supposed to be like walking billboards for a certain sexuality. It just came across as a very almost like young adult modern audience fantasy game, which was terrible in my opinion. It wasn't dark, it wasn't gritty, it wasn't deep, it wasn't impactful. You walked away just being annoyed with this experience. So I guess if you're one of the 1,500 people who are still playing this on PC, you might want to act quick and get this brand new DLC because even though it had dropped without an announcement about a month ago, now they're suddenly pulling it from the storefront and you're no longer going to be able to get it. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.